seriously don't get why this had to be the guy that made a response video. It couldn't have been someone with more mental acuity, like Brother Near 2.0, or Bada Kanta, or Psychonautic Therapy, or Kim Josh-un? No? Nobody like that? Okay.
Well, you know what they say, Roadbreach, be careful what you wish for. Hey, what's up guys, it's Thunderstruck115, and today I finally have a video on the whole Roadbreach versus xLukaz drama. So, quick summary, xLukaz made some videos on console fanboys, then took a hiatus from YouTube. Roadbreach saw them and left some comments on some of the videos that were, let's just say, less than positive. The two went back and forth on YouTube for a bit until they had a debate, although it was less of a debate and more of a waste of everybody's fucking time. And then we all thought that was the end of it until about a month ago, Roadbreach released a video titled xLukaz Rant, basically reviving the drama over a joke on Discord, and then more back and forth until Roadbreach apologized and privated the video. Now, why am I getting to it just now, you might ask? Well, I initially planned on covering it a lot earlier, but it got delayed multiple times for various reasons. First, it was because xLukaz reached out to me and asked me not to make my video on him until he made his video, which, I mean, I'd already kind of started, but when I got that DM, I just halted work on it. But then once Lucas released his video, I had to delay it again because of some personal shit that was going on at the time. And then I saw the Act Man release his arena shooter video, so I delayed it again to cover that. And then the whole drama with Krillix happened, and I wanted to cover that. And then the Redfall drama happened, and I wanted to cover that. And then the Zero Needs Coffee drama happened. And with each delay, I just slowly lost interest in covering this situation, which resulted in a feedback loop. But I didn't cancel it entirely because there were several people on Discord who wanted me to cover the drama. So I recently made a community post basically explaining what was going on and asked if y'all wanted me to do it anyway. And overall, it was an overwhelming no to that. So why am I doing this video? Well, it was because Roadbreach of all people commented on that community post saying that he'd be interested to hear what I have to say, which piqued my interest enough to make this video. It's not going to be anywhere near as in-depth as I initially planned. In fact, I'm starting a whole new draft separate from the initial one that I started a while ago. And as such, I'm just going to be jumping around a lot in this video, because quite frankly, that's all I can really muster up enough to do. But for those curious what that original draft would have looked like, I actually had an idea when viewing a comment by Big Country, where I decided that I'm going to actually add gameplay to what I had in that original draft, and then just upload that as an unlisted video in case y'all are curious at all what I had done up till that point. So yeah, anyways, this isn't going to be a deep dive into the drama like I initially planned. I'm just going to be addressing some of the main points he makes in his xLukaz Rant video. If you want something covering the drama in greater detail, I'd recommend the videos by xLukaz, Brother Near 2.0, and Psychonautic Therapy. Oh, and I know I said earlier that Roadbreach apologized for this situation, so why am I still doing it anyway? Well, in short, because several people, including Roadbreach, asked me to, and also I just want to give my input on this whole situation. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and get into this.
Jesus fucking Christ. I wanted to leave this where it was and forget that anything happened whatsoever, but considering you couldn't keep your repulsive fucking mouth shut about me, the fact that your video is 50-50 split between on point and missing it completely, and intend to make yet another horrendous video on me, I might as well make your job harder for you by making a rant.
My guy, if anything, making a rant's only gonna make his job easier because that gives him more content for his channel.
Hey everyone, Roadbreach here, and I'm making another video on xLukaz. I didn't want it to come to this. I swear on my collection of plastic that I didn't.
My guy, you two had already resolved the drama, and then you got pissed at him over making some harmless jokes on Discord. So yeah, this is normally the part where I'd say you owe me your collection of plastic, but you can keep it, cause I don't want it.
But seeing as how Lucas wouldn't shut the fuck up about me in Psychonautic Therapy's server, and Lucas literally said in his stream that he didn't want to do another debate to address points I forgot to write down in our initial debate, I might as well bring them up here. For those who don't know what's going on, I made a video on xLukaz, a commentary YouTuber who's trying to get into music, and he made a video on me where I agreed with some of his points, but the video had several problems, like when he said my video was pure retardation, like I said absolutely nothing of value whatsoever.
My guy, it's called exaggeration, which, you know, people do in order to make their videos more entertaining, which, yeah, I do the exact same shit.
And when I brought it up in Psycho's Discord, I kinda had a mental breakdown in his server. I tried to use my autism and history with CSEP to try and make everyone there see my side, which is a more diplomatic way of saying I tried to get sympathy points.
Alright, I can appreciate the honesty.
But of course not, because cocksucker Lucas wouldn't shut the fuck up about me and refused to be civil despite everything. I tried to be friendly and non-combative. I mean, for fuck's sake, he called me a retard for saying I didn't like Meat Canyon.
Okay, no. I was there in Psychonautic Therapy's server when that exchange took place, and the thing that xLukaz was jabbing at was the fact that Roadbreach returned to the server because at the time he had been constantly leaving and rejoining Psychonautic Therapy's Discord server, and that's what he was poking fun at, not the fact that he didn't like Meat Canyon.
I don't ask for much when it comes to a response video on me, but I do ask that it be better than this for reasons I'll get into shortly. Let's get into this shit before I blow a gasket.
I misinterpret what people say. This is coming from the same motherfucker that took a joke I made and tried to paint it as me slandering a video game company. Like the irony, man, you just love to see it.
When the actual fuck did I ever say that in the comments? I never once said that you were slandering Sony in the comments. Yeah, right there.
Okay, I guess maybe you didn't use the word slander, but the point still stands. You were getting butthurt over xLukaz making a joke about the DualSense in reference to the haptic feedback that Sony so loves to tout about the controller.
This is exactly what I'm talking about when I said you misinterpreted things in this video. But that completely went over your head because your ego is more enlarged than your fucking brain tumor. Which seems to be the case when you think I'm ignoring Half-Life Alyx, despite the fact that I literally fucking mentioned Half-Life Alyx and acknowledged it, when I say that Harmon Smith was talking about Valve slacking on putting out content.
An inability to continue making new, interesting properties. When was the last time they released a new IP? Like fucking Portal? Like in 2007?
Like I said before, Half-Life Alyx is a thing, and a simple Google search would confirm that. But I guess that's too much to ask.
Okay, right there, Harmon specified new IPs. Half-Life Alyx is a game that takes place in the Half-Life universe. I'm not entirely sure what new means in your head, but I wouldn't classify a new IP as a franchise that started in 1998.
You know, if you really want to argue over semantics, despite you essentially agreeing that the whole point he was trying to make is that Valve doesn't really make games anymore, then yes, I had a slip up in calling Half-Life Alyx a new IP. But again, you essentially agree with the sentiment, as you say yourself.
Is talking about Valve slacking on putting out content.
Which then, if you agree with that statement, then clearly Harmon is a dumbass for forgetting to mention that Half-Life Alyx exists.
I'm sorry, but one game, one demo, and tons of money and resources isn't going to make me forget about Valve's non-existent quality control, the sea of sewage that was Valve's library.
I want everybody here to remember this clip and how he's calling Valve's library of games a sea of sewage, because it's going to be important later on.
The fact that games with fucking malware were somehow allowed onto the storefront, and that massive gap in Valve's release schedule. I'm sick of people holding up Gabe Newell as a guy that can do no wrong when he can barely manage a storefront to where someone has to break the law for Valve to fucking step in. Pickled Rick, anyone? There are videos that I keep going back to about Steam Direct and Digital Homicide to this day. But no, I guess I should shut up because they make one game in 2020 and one demo 2 years later.
Interesting how you're trying to claim that Valve is slacking in putting out new content, yet you conveniently ignore the fact that about 2 weeks prior to you uploading this video that Valve announced that they were developing a new Counter-Strike, and it's set to release this summer. So yeah, they might have had a long hiatus, but they're back to developing new content now, so I really don't know what your point is. As for Valve allowing malware onto their storefront, it was actually confirmed by Brother Near 2.0 in his video on this situation, that the person who posted what Roadbreach is showing here later admitted that they had never gotten any malware from a Steam game and were merely posting that out of concern for their parents. And another thing, it is completely irrelevant to what xLukaz is talking about, that being Harmon Smith ignoring the content that Valve has put out recently.
Now, onto this absolute gem, where I bring up that abhorrently priced listing of Transformers Devastation on G2A, and compare it to a PS4 copy on eBay, where he says this.
Really, dude, is this seriously your best counter-argument? You're gonna take some obscure outlier -2 people have heard about, and use it to justify your retardation? I mean, I can literally take that same logic right back at you, and apply it at physical games. Like, this doesn't just apply to consoles or PCs, we even somewhat debated on in the comments.
It seems more like PC players will complain about the fact that the game isn't more 4K 300 FPS. I also had no choice but to get Transformers Devastation physically on PS4 to play on PS5 because I use more PC for editing and because Steam keys for Transformers Devastation cost hundreds of dollars on G2A. At least I can still buy fucking physical games, even if they get delisted.
Point to one example of someone unironically expecting a game to run at 4K 300 FPS.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, I guess that's kind of on xLukaz for setting the bar too low, but his point still stands that most PC gamers have far more reasonable expectations when it comes to graphics and performance. However, fanboys always exist, and the thing about fanboys is that they're fucking stupid no matter what piece of plastic they're simping for. And my advice when dealing with those kinds of people is to just point and laugh.
Also, I love how you portray Transformers Devastation as an obscure outlier when most of the Transformers community holds that game in high regard and would kill to get a sequel to that game after the cliffhanger teased a sequel. But that's not gonna happen because Activision are greedy cocksuckers who'd rather kill a franchise than admit that they fucked up.
Alright, so this is something I can actually give to Roadbreach. Transformers Devastation is not an obscure title at all. I mean, hell, I'm not even a Transformers fan, and I've heard of the game. And I've heard it's a damn good game, too. So yeah, I'll give that one to you, Roadbreach. However, xLukaz's point still stands that you can just as easily apply your experience about high price keys on G2A to physical games. For example, here's an eBay listing I found for the game Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Having overpriced older titles is not something exclusive to PC gaming or to digital games.
Now, onto the part that really makes me wonder what the fuck his point was, and if he took more time to think about the solidity of the argument or its relevance before moving on to his next point. Harmon later brings up the lack of detachable controllers, akin to the Nintendo Joy-Cons, and the supposed lack of motion controls, which the Valve Steam Deck actually does have, and Lucas generalizes that nobody wants motion controls.
I don't think there's a single person in 2021 that unironically wants motion controls. Like, I really thought that fucking gimmick died with the Wii more than 10 years ago.
I guess you've never played ARMS, Wii Sports, Excitebots, Mario Galaxy, Astro's Playroom, or any other highly acclaimed game that uses motion controls.
You know, man, I don't know if I'd personally use the words highly acclaimed when describing Astro's Playroom. A glorified fucking tech demo that involves you blowing into that controller like a maniac.
Genuinely, what the fuck does this have to do with the game's quality? I'm sure I could find a clip of IShowSpeed going wild over beating Elden Ring, but it says absolutely fuck all about the game's quality. Plus, this game has really good reviews, so it technically is highly acclaimed. The sea of sewage that was Valve's library.
Oh, so when Astro's Playroom gets high review scores, that means it's a critically acclaimed game, yet you're gonna call Valve's library a sea of sewage when they've also reviewed really well? Roadbreach, I'm gonna need you to
keep that same energy.
You just refuse to get off your high horse and come up with retarded reasons to call it a shitty tech demo. I will concede that you weren't impressed by the game, but this clip of some guy overreacting over the microphone gimmick proves fucking nothing.
Alright, that is a false equivalence right there, because somebody overreacting at beating Elden Ring is not the same thing as playing the game by blowing into the controller. With Astro's Playroom, blowing into the controller is an actual game mechanic. Someone freaking out over beating Elden Ring, on the other hand, has absolutely nothing to do with the way the game plays.
Next on the chopping block, he goes over the choice things I have to say about gaming keyboards, which boiled down to me hating the form factor and calling it ugly as a jab at the form factor and the dumbass RGB lights that I couldn't give a fuck about, and am tempted to rip out of my PC because they do fuck all but raise the price of this damn thing.
You do realize they make keyboards without RGB, right? I mean, if you don't like them, just turn the damn things off.
Except for the fact that I would kill to have gyro aiming in literally every first-person and third-person shooter over mouse aiming any day over having to contend with an ugly, uncomfortable button slap. Seriously, fuck this thing.
I find it extremely funny how this dude gets mad and accuses me of generalizing things, and later calls me a contrarian, when just because he prefers gyro aiming, he acts like keyboards are inferior to controllers or some shit. Like, remember that one comment from earlier?
It's still much more comfortable to use than a slab of buttons.
Controllers are more comfortable, take less time to get accustomed to, and with things like the Steam Deck that have controller-type inputs built in, are better for playing in bed. After all, isn't playing a video game supposed to be fun? So why not be comfortable while you have fun? Also, considering there are gaming keyboard alternatives, I'd only use this piece of shit if I can't use anything else, or don't want to spend my time doing a bunch of setup outside of the game to use a controller. I wasn't hating on the gaming keyboard to be contrarian. I was hating on it because I fucking hate it, and it was never designed for gaming in the first place. You could show me all the plastic button slabs you want, it's never going to convince me the computer keyboard was designed for gaming in the first place.
Then use a controller then? Like, you do realize that most games on PC nowadays have native controller support built in. And on the off chance they don't, Steam has this wonderful feature that allows you to map keyboard and mouse inputs to controller inputs. And if you're playing a non-Steam game, there's programs like Joy2Key which basically do the same thing. Like, that's the good thing about PC, you have plenty of options. If you don't prefer the keyboard, that's fine, but I'm just not sure why you're getting so pissed off about it. Like hell, I have a wired Xbox One controller by PowerA that I use whenever I play a game on PC that isn't a shooter or strategy game. Because for most games that aren't shooters and strategy games, I prefer controllers over keyboard and mouse.
As for me getting pissed at denigrating, apparently I'm not using the right word. As for me getting pissed at you disparaging the DualSense, the comment about vibrators not being free is a stupid fucking point, and I have no goddamn clue why you decided to fucking make it in the first place. Calling the Hyperscan a doorstop is me insulting the Hyperscan. I could tell you real doorstops cost money, but it's a nothing point. You call it mental gymnastics for me to infer you said it has no value, when typically belittling something as something else is an insult in any other context.
Yeah, except the difference is that calling the Hyperscan a doorstop is a fairly generic insult comparison. However, there's context to xLukaz calling the DualSense a vibrator, that being the haptic feedback that Sony loves to rave on about. And as such, it was a joke sort of mocking Sony for that specifically, and rather than saying that the DualSense has no value. Although, I will agree that I'm not sure what he was trying to get at by saying that actual vibrators cost money.
He later brings up the comment I made about 144 FPS and 1440p or 4K are something worth flexing about when most gamers couldn't give a flying fuck about 4K resolution, and tell him it's not worth blowing thousands on.
It's also the fact that slight improvements are made out to be anything worth me blowing my money on. Whoopity fucking do, 144 FPS and 1440! That's worth blowing thousands on it, ain't it?
By all means, point to where I said that you need to spend thousands of dollars to get a good gaming experience on PC.
Maybe it's because the fact that literally the second result on Bing cost thousands of dollars.
Okay, well there's your problem. You're looking at pre-builts. I don't know if you know this, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, but pre-built gaming PCs are a fucking scam. Retailers like Best Buy will overcharge the shit out of the components that you're actually getting in there in order to turn a profit, and you're much better off just getting the parts individually and either building it yourself or having a building service do it for you, which granted the building service does cost money, but it's still way fucking cheaper than buying a pre-built. Additionally, in those Bing results that you show, the one on the left is only $1,100 and the one on the right is only $2,700, which are far more reasonably priced, assuming of course they're up to spec. Which, that's another thing. What are the specs on those PCs? Because how much power you want it to have under the hood is going to greatly affect the price.
And for what? Improvements that I couldn't give the slightest infinitesimal fuck about? 4K? 144 FPS? The pretty lights? Yeah, tell that to my PS5 that may not have all that shit, but runs Doom Eternal at a buttery smooth frame rate with crystal clear visuals.
And if you're happy with what you get on console, then good for you. That's why they exist. Meanwhile, people who want, like, 4K, 144 FPS with max settings and ray tracing and shit, they can choose to shell out the money for a PC capable of that. Or even if they have different expectations, like maybe they're fine with just like 1080p but want to run the game at like 144 FPS, they can do that. I mean, just because you don't care about what's on PC doesn't mean that other people don't, or that it's a waste of money. Like, for example, I don't really give a shit about VR games, mostly because I can't go for more than 15 minutes without wanting to vomit. But does that mean I'm gonna start ragging on people for spending money on a VR setup? Fuck no. Not everybody has to like the same things as you.
If I wasn't a YouTuber, this thing wouldn't be a passing thought in my mind. Hey Castle, can I get another round of Lucas missing the point?
Sure thing.
Nope!
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
This is when I criticized Lucas for making fun of That Guy Who Games for talking about why the Steam Deck was something that seemed to have come out of left field.
His point was that it was surprising for Valve to actually make something like this, especially since they haven't made games for a long time, despite Valve being a massive company and not doing shit to moderate Steam.
Again, if you watch my videos in a way that didn't involve you cherry-picking statements, you'd pick up on the fact that I tend to exaggerate things for comedic effect and mock people for stating the obvious. Like, this dude's gonna get on his high horse and call me a disingenuous liar, while playing random clips he somehow found a way to bitch and moan about. You know, at least I have the courtesy of playing a video in full.
You conveniently leave out the point I was making. For a company that didn't make new games for 8 years, it's surprising to see them make a whole-ass game system. You completely ignored the part where I bring up the fact that Steam barely, if ever, moderates their fucking platform, despite the fact stacks they make through Steam, and not making new games for 8 years. Let me put it this way, when someone doesn't do what you've known them to do for years, and suddenly does something that someone else does, but far better, I don't think that's something you can go without pointing out. Nobody else made a portable gaming system, but here comes Valve with their new system when other companies that have been making new games for years, that have similar resources, haven't done so. Get the fucking point.
Yeah, maybe I fucking would if I could understand what the hell your point even was. Because I watched this part back like 5 fucking times and I am still not sure what he's trying to say. Like, is he trying to say that Steam can't make gaming hardware even though they haven't made games for a while? Which, I mean, that's not a good argument if that is what he's trying to get at, because Intel, Nvidia, and AMD also make gaming hardware. Then it's also funny when he says that Valve is doing this better than other companies, but then later says that no other company is doing, like, a handheld gaming system. Like, what the fuck? I genuinely don't know what point Roadbreach is trying to make here.
I also wish to further drive home the fact that you feel the need to win no matter what and can't be wrong about anything whatsoever. Did you completely flunk English, or is this an indirect admission that I was correct? Or did I just not use the correct word for your stupid ass?
Nah, like I say, your brain damage had rubbed off on me to the point where I just figured talking to you was a lost cause. Like talking to a brick wall. Again, let's not forget this all started with you getting butthurt over a joke.
Jesus fucking Christ! Swallow some fucking pride once in a while! Jesus fucking Christ! Swallow some fucking pride once in a while!
I swear. Every fucking time. Like, okay, Roadbreach. I'll admit, this was pretty entertaining. But in the same way that Wings of Redemption is entertaining, where we all just laugh at him for, you know, spurging the fuck out over the littlest shit. Which, I mean, if that's the route you want to take your channel, you do you, but from when I've spoken to you, you seem like you want to be taken seriously, in which case, you really shouldn't spurg the fuck out over minor internet drama like this. Like, this is just some silly internet drama between 2 commentary response channels. Calm the fuck down.
Look at this fucking definition. It literally has disparage as part of its dogshit definition. Yet you tell me that I'm using a completely different word out of nowhere in the comments. It literally has the word disparage in this abortion of a definition. When people use the word denigrate, they typically mean they're belittling something. They are presenting that thing as being of little worth. Google is not the be-all end-all of definitions, especially when it comes with a definition that isn't relevant to what it means 90% of the time people use the damn word. How goddamn long do I have to drone on about the fact that you weren't correct and refuse to admit it? Because here's the definition for your retarded ass. Denigrate, to deny the importance of or validity of. Belittle. So, it seems as though I was correct, and you were too prideful to admit it.
Doesn't matter what definition you want to go with, whether it's supposedly me criticizing it unfairly, or to deny the importance of, or validity of, belittle, whatever the fuck. When that was your main takeaway after I called a fucking controller a vibrator as a joke, you really need to reevaluate your life.
Shut the fuck up. Stop trying to poison the well about the context behind the argument.
Poisoning the well, or attempting to poison the well, is a type of informal fallacy where adverse information about a target is preemptively presented to an audience with the intention of discrediting or ridiculing something the target person is about to say.
My guy, he is simply providing the context behind that argument. Maybe he did use the wrong word, but whether you want to say it's disparage, denigrate, slander, whatever the fuck, his point still stands that you were getting big mad over the fact that he made a joke about the PS5's DualSense controller being a vibrator. Providing crucial context on a situation is not the same as poisoning the well. No, poisoning the well would be like if somebody was to try and discredit Brother Nier 2.0 by bringing up the dark side of Griffin Gaming.
Realize that selling art of a grown woman with an animal head hurts no one but your own sensibilities, and that a print of a dog girl isn't a human byproduct. You are making a false equivalency, you fucking spunk muppet. I love how some people will try to paint a cat girl as being an abomination or some shit when you fuckers clearly haven't played a Resident Evil game if you think this is on the same level as this.
Yo, what the fuck? A second ago, you were talking about how people make money off of drawing furry art. Where the fuck did Resident Evil come from? And if you're wondering if it's confusing because I'm skipping around his video, I assure you, even if you watch his entire video all the way through, it is just as confusing. Yeah, at this point I'm fucking bored, and honestly, I ended up responding to a lot more of the video than I initially thought I was, so yeah, I'm gonna end off the video here. Again, I feel the need to remind everybody that Roadbreach has apologized for the situation, and even though I know this goes without saying, please don't harass him. And if his recent video on Harmon Smith is anything to go off of, he's definitely improved. Again, I only really did this video because several people, including Roadbreach, wanted to know what my take was on this situation. But yeah, anyways, that's gonna be about it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more and tell me what you think of this whole situation. Anyways, that's it. Peace!